Guess the best way to start is by saying Dear Diary, and this is the first episode of where I intend to document my process every single week, what I have going on, the trials, the tribulations, the highs, the lows, the updates, and everything in between, because things move quickly and you don't look back at what's changed or maybe what you've improved on, what you've learned. So I think it's always going to be nice for me to, number one, to document it and to look back, but also to put the journey out there, because I intend to put more of the journey out there, because I appreciate I'm doing things which I believe people are going to want to do in a couple of years. I think people are going to look at what I'm doing in the mixed martial arts space in the UK, in the media game, in the content creation game, in the way that I'm pivoting into my passions, and I'm doing it with such frequency that I think people are going to look at that and want to know how I done that and how I achieved that. So I think it'd be a disservice for myself and for other people not to document it, because I think there's a lot of value in the mistakes I'm making along the way or the things I'm learning along the way for other people. And every week at the moment just seems to be either another hurdle or another eureka moment or another exciting thing to look forward to. So if I just think about the last week, really, and I just look at what I've got coming up, I've just jumped off the podcast with Leo, which I'm super excited about, because even though we've put out four episodes now and it's barely got any views, and the video quality's not been great on a couple and the audio's not been great and it's lagged, but slowly but surely we're just leveling that up so that everything syncs up. We're getting nice crisp visuals, we're getting good audio, we're getting good production in terms of both people are level to the screen. Just find the nuances of creating podcasts so you can create the best visual and audio experience as possible, because you want to create as little friction really as for people to click off. So we're leveling that up, and even though, like I was saying, it's not getting a lot of views at the moment, the exciting thing is we've done 5 weeks in a row now, and that automatically shoves you into a very, very small percentage of podcast creators, because that's the hurdle everyone falls at, is being too sporadic, is being too inconsistent. And I know how serious we both are about this mixed martial arts game and creating a career within it and creating opportunities within it. So that's not going away. That's not a variable. So that hard work's going to be there and that commitment's going to be there. So if we just attach the podcast to it, it doesn't really matter how slowly it moves, because accumulatively, using compound interest of people finding it and discovering it and coming across it through our multiple channels and our multiple personalities online, is going to pick up support, it's going to pick up fan bases. And we intend to sort of take it to a place where a lot of people haven't gone in the MMA space. And we're not just doing that to be different or to be edgy or to put something out that there isn't. It's a genuine interest of ours to explore areas such as business, such as marketing, such as content creation. And we just spoke about there getting Lionel on, who runs a very successful YouTube and online platform and has a really good brand strategy and content production game. Getting him on next week just to talk about that and the finer nuances of what he does and how he does it and his ideas and philosophies behind things. So not only selfishly can we grow and we can evolve from that and we can learn from him, but also we can put that into the space, because like I said, we're starting to do things I believe that are going to be desirable. And it feels almost arrogant to say, because, well, that's just how it feels. But I've been saying it, it's documented. I know the UK MMA scene and global scene as well is just going to continue to transcend. And in the UK, it's just getting started in terms of the momentum and the buzz it's bringing around it. And I've said this for the longest time, but I look at the landscape now and I can really see myself starting to dig my feet into the roots of the MMA scenes and start actually getting my teeth into building up a brand, building up different forms of content that people know me for, building up this visual and this image and this way of creating content where people say, oh, that's Casual's Corner. And that was always something I was so conscious of I needed to do, but I wasn't sure how to do it because I had no skills and I had no practice. But after literally years of doing that on repeat and feeling like you're smashing your head against a concrete wall a lot of times because nothing's changing, but you iterate and you improve and you break down what worked well for you and what didn't work well for you and what worked well for others. And this is something that I'm realizing that's so obvious now that you look back on it, but you keep getting these eureka moments. And I got it last night when I looked at my Twitter. I need to improve my distribution in terms of creating GBTV and creating that as like a household name for culture in terms of London and MMA and the UK scene. If I want to create that nucleus of culture, people have to know about it, and my distribution game has to be better, and I have to be more involved in Reddits, and I have to be more engaged on Twitter. And I'm sitting there yesterday, I'm looking at what everyone's doing as I'm watching the fights, and I'm updating my Instagram feed, and people are posting their tweets about their fights, and I'm thinking, why have I never done this? And I'm sitting there with a eureka moment of, this has literally been staring at me in the face the whole time. So there and then I make the very simple adjustment of writing more succinct, more punchy tweets, adding a picture attached, posting it to my Instagram, and then breaking down my thoughts more thoroughly on the fight or the situation or the outcome, whatever it may be. And they've indexed fantastically well. So now what I'm doing is I'm just adding a layer of brand onto what I do with little to no friction. Well, no friction at all, because I was already doing it. I was just getting no notoriety to it, and I wasn't creating a funnel with my social platforms. I was just posting random thoughts to Twitter and being like, I'm just going to post them into the ether and they're going to get picked up and retweeted and people are going to follow it. That's not how it works. I need to leverage my different platforms to keep feeding them through and keep running them through circles. And that's why I need to be nailed onto my email strategy campaign, my Twitter, my Reddit, my Instagram. And I need to look at these as funnels, as feeding them in. And that's when it comes down to distribution of GB Top Team. And that's something I've been working on, is being really conscious of having a better community on Twitter and more people knowing every Tuesday I'm going to put out that episode and creating that excitement around it, because I do believe that GBTV can be that cornerstone of culture for mixed martial arts in the United Kingdom. I truly do believe that. I believe that I can create the Office or the Last Chance You mashup of this reality, but also docu-series and just this consistent documentation of these people's lives, which are so incredible and tell such incredible stories, such incredible trials and tribulations, and you see what it really means to be a fighter and what these people go through and how they battle with adversity. And I think that's fascinating, and I think it's a great platform for me to incorporate humor and incorporate the seriousness and the severity of the sport, the injuries that come along with that, and the danger that you have just stepping into sparring each day. And I think to truly elevate that, I need to keep refining the product, which I believe I'm doing. I obviously learned recently how to color grade. I learned about audio control to normalize and to compress, and the audio to do them both in so the audio doesn't bleach out and people get all distorted and just go off because it's making them feel sick. My color grade's consistent and has more of a theme and a feeling towards it. My storytelling's better. My delivery's getting better with it. My edit and my effectiveness, my retention's getting better. So it's just it's a constant grind of refining the product. It's a constant grind. And I'm sitting here this week because I'm planning for my first ever episode of Food Fighters, which I'm actually extremely excited for. Extremely excited for, because I have to keep reminding myself that I need to keep stepping out of the situation, because it feels so normal, because I've been in it and immersed in it and I'm working on it. I need to remove myself and say, I started making food videos on Instagram. I never thought I would do that. They started to get views. I never thought they'd do that. I started to make them consistently. I never thought they'd do that. I started to pair them in with fighting. I never thought I could do that. I started then to make food videos just for being food videos, and they started doing well. I never thought that would happen. And slowly but surely, I've just been redefining what I believe I can do in that space. And now I'm at a point where on the 10th of July, I've got a sponsored venue, I've got a film crew, and I've got a UFC athlete, and I've got a Food Fighters series ready to be created with an elite photographer and an incredible videographer all on the same team. And I'm so blessed that I can look to my friend Max, who is absolutely crushing it in his respective field of photography, and his talents are being seen now, and people it's so fun to see that people in the industry who have way more knowledge and credibility than I do as some person who doesn't have a clue what a camera is and has no idea what's good about a photo, but just knows there's something to it and has always told him to pursue that dream. And now very, very well-credentialed people are picking up on his work and telling him how good it is and are booking him for shows and events and outings, and he's getting that validation that he definitely needed. Some people don't need that he needed that, and he won't mind me saying that because he's from an environment that crushed that. To crush things that you want to do and to experiment and to be artistic and creative, it suppressed that dramatically. So now he's been forced into doing what he loves and his passion, and he's seen how he can flourish in it and how skilled he is, and now he's getting that validation. The sky's the limit. So bringing him on the team and having him capture the first episode is massive. It's so massive, and I'm gonna voice note him after I finish this because that is so exciting. I'm sitting here and I'm getting goosebumps with what we can create because I've always wanted to go on a journey. I really am. I'm sitting here getting goosebumps because I've always wanted to go on a journey of doing what I'm passionate about, what I love, and doing it as a career. And if I can do that with my friends and loved ones around me, that will just be so much more enjoyable. It'll be so cool to do. So seeing my friend do his passion and start really getting heavy into that and being able to do that almost as a full-time job now and being so skilled that he can help me work on mine. And then we're going to have incredible photography that's going to come from that we can start making that into little bits of artwork. I can start using that for my next comic. I can start using that potentially to integrate into clothing or designs or future projects or content that we can just create together in terms of short form. It's just so exciting of what we can do, and the sky is really the limit. And we're starting to cross over between us different passions and strengths and just fun ideas that we're just experimenting on and seeing what we can create. And the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit because I've realized now you can't put a cap on anything. If you turn around to me and said there's going to be a scenario where in 2, 3, 4, 5 years time I'm going to be sitting in a room and then someone maybe going to have me on their podcast or whoever that may be, and they're going to ask me and they're going to say, Will, you're working on XYZ project with XYZ person and you're doing this and you're doing that, and what would you have said if you told yourself that 2 years ago? And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say, as cliche as it is, I anticipated this. I knew that this was possible because I knew that there was no end to what was actually achievable. Because let's actually put it on paper. Everything's on the table here. Everything's on the table. Working with anyone and everyone in the UFC is on the table. Working with everyone and anyone in the creative space is on the table because opportunities are growing and social proof is growing and notoriety is growing and skill sets are growing and working with other skilled creatives is growing and cross promotions are growing, and all of that is just compound interest. It's just money in the bank. And like Brandon Moreno says, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but one of these days takes one video to change your life. One video. We've seen it documented so many times before. It takes one video to change your life. And I'm so sure that me being in this game consistently, day in, day out, one of these days, one of these videos is going to change my life. It's going to be one comment. It's going to be one person seeing it at the right time. It's going to be one story share. It's going to be one DM sent to the right person. It's going to change my life. I know it. I know it. For example, even Nina followed me yesterday. Not just the social proof in terms of following and what she has is like over 1 million followers, but the people, the Gary V's, the Dana Whites, the movers and shakers in business and marketing and the UFC and MMA now follow her. So let's say a shared post or a like or a comment goes the right direction in one of them, we're starting to look at life-changing possibilities from very small transactions. But that's what happens when you create friction on a consistent basis. And Naval Ravikant always says it. Friction causes fire. Not in those words, but in no uncertain terms. He says if you go around creating friction everywhere, it's like you're mixing up all these solutions in a petri dish. You're eventually going to create that catalyst, which is going to have that explosion. It's going to have that pop. It's going to have that chemical reaction. And I'm going to get that. And by stirring up that petri dish with new ideas, new innovations, new techniques, new creatives on board, new skilled people to work with, new ideas, new concepts. And it's not that I'm just doing this for the sake of that there's no one else doing it. I'm doing it because this is exactly what I want to do. And there is nothing more authentic to me than this. And the people that follow me and the people that know me and the people that are going to watch this content are going to feel that. It's going to be tangible. It's going to be palpable, the fact that I'm really investing my time, my energy, my career, my life into doing things I'm passionate about and doing it to the highest level. And I will spend this week researching how I want it to look, how it's going to be structured. I'm going to be doing my research. I'm going to be thinking through every detail I can in preparation to make sure we have the best final product we can possibly produce between us, and we can collaboratively make the best project. And I don't want that selfish, not just from a selfish perspective, but from a perspective of I want every single person involved. I want Max, the photographer. I want myself as Casuals Corner. I want Faye as a videographer. I want Nathaniel as a UFC fighter. And I want Martin as the owner of the venue that we're going to and the owner of GB Top Team. I want every single person to be able to watch that episode and feel genuinely proud that they're a part of it some way, and that we created something that they want to show people and they want to express with people. And I've just stumbled into this position. I feel like I've scratched and clawed my way into a position where this is now possible. And I'm now in a position where I'm smirking to myself behind the scenes because it feels like I've blagged it here, because I've got Max, who's super talented. I've got Faye, who's super talented. I've got a UFC fighter, Nathaniel, who's incredible and is surging. I've got a £10 million house, and I've got all these things coming together, and I'm thinking, I don't really know how I've stumbled up here. But that's a lie, and that'd be doing myself a disservice, because people talk about manifestation. Manifestation isn't wishing upon a star that one day I'm going to have this show and it's going to be like Food Fighters, it's going to be like Space Cadets, it's going to be like when the Broken Planet document, it's going to be all of these different things amalgamated into my own style and my own passion points, seen through the lens of different creatives that I trust and know their process and know what they're capable of doing, and that I'm going to give them every freedom and every respect they can to create their art in their own style and their own way with as much direction as they want. I've manifested it. I've made those conversations. I've made those videos. I've made those escalations. I've made those talks possible. I've made those reach outs. I've made those uncomfortable conversations at times of asking those questions or even just suggesting it. It feels natural for me to suggest it. Let's just do this. But to some people, maybe that's intimidating. Maybe they'll be doubting themselves. Oh, it's not going to be like Food Truck Diaries or Food Fight. It's not going to be that good. It's my first time. I'm nervous. I'm interviewing. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. And I'm excited to have those lights on and those cameras and those butterflies in my stomach, because I want that to dial me in. I want that to focus. And I want that to be the most heightened version of myself that I can, because I miss that. And I really, really want that. Because when I go out, if it's talking to someone, if it's a sporting environment, whatever it may be, I go out and your pupils dilate and your stomach's turning a little bit and it's rumbling a touch and you're shaking a little bit and your mind's a little bit playing tricks on you and you're sweating a couple of beads of sweat and you look down and your armpits have a little bit of a stain around them and you're thinking, okay, I'm in a little bit of a pressure cooker. No matter what the situation may be, I want that feeling. I want that feeling, and I used to be a little bit scared of that feeling. The more I watch these people compete on a daily basis and talk about it and understand how people thrive in that conditions, people like Alexander Volkanovski, hearing the mindset, hearing how they embrace those feelings and those thoughts and how they're comfortable in preparation and they embrace it, that just gets me so freaking excited, because I'll end on this. You're more nervous when you know the preparation hasn't gone into it. You're more anxious when you know in the back room that maybe you haven't done the extra wrestling rounds, or you haven't gone to every session, or you haven't showed up in your nutrition. But for me, if I look at it in the perspective of I've done the research I need to, I've done the structure that's in place, I've given people an idea, I've worked with the team well, and I've got everything in a position to fully succeed, and I'm fully prepared in any potential conversations and how I want things to go and flow, and happy to be candid and off the cuff as well, and just to let things be natural. I feel like I'm going to create something special. So that pretty much wraps up where I'm at on the first week, and obviously I've waffled on for so long there, but there's a lot of difficulties that come with it, and I'm actually going to spend the last couple of minutes of just saying what's been difficult, because I've said everything that I'm excited about there, but what's also difficult is that thing playing in the back of my mind that continuously says you're not doing enough. And some people would look at me and output, and they'd say, you're doing lots, you're doing a YouTube video a week, and you're color grading and editing and filming and distributing it on all platforms, and on top of that you're running your Instas and your things, and all of these things. You can look at that, but like, I'm still not working as effectively, as efficiently as I could. I could be getting my upload schedule more consistently done on a Sunday. I could be chipping up my podcast more effectively. I could be getting my distributions more consistent beforehand, so I don't have to do them on a day. I could be posting more frequent food videos and all of these different things. I could be reaching out to more accounts. I need to be reaching out to more brands. I need to be starting more conversations in that realm. There's so many improvements that I need to make, but I know the improvements I need to make. And it's just a case of sticking in the game, and sometimes having that short memory of, okay, maybe I didn't have the best of weeks, or it wasn't the most productive, or I had a couple of days where I could have done more. But we're on to the next week, and it's a clean slate, and I can only look to improve. And it's a case of getting up and being methodical and having this week to dial in, really dial in. And these next few weeks, I'm really going to be honed into my craft, to elevating my game, my content, my distribution, and getting everything moving in a really succinct model and funnel, because that's super important with this content game. You need to create good funnels of content and distribution. It's not all roses, and although I'm growing, although I'm doing better things, there's still so much room for improvement, my goodness, and so many things I need to improve on. And I just need to continue to work harder and more effectively, essentially. Nothing more to say. Keep it casual.